Welcome back to Dreams of Music and Makeup, or welcome here if it's your first time. Glad you decided to stop by. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about something that we haven't really talked about yet, and I hope that you guys are open to this. It's something fairly new to the YouTube space, depending on how long you've been here, I guess. Before we get into all of the details of what we're going to talk about today, I want to go ahead and let you know who started this whole idea, because I can't take the credit. This entire series, I guess, all began with, I believe, Kimberly Clark. There's been some debate as to who started it, and I just don't care to get involved in that kind of drama, but apparently there's also a girl, I believe it's Amber's Beauty Chair, who also did an anti-haul very early on, so I will link both of those down below for you if you want to get a taste of who originally started this whole trend of doing anti-haul videos. The big thing that I would like to kind of direct your attention to, if this is something that interests you, is that Kimberly Clark is a very cool channel. If you have not visited her yet, I will link her down below. If you would like to see a sassy drag queen trash talk products that you don't need in your life, you need to go and visit her channel. It's fantastic. Keeps me entertained. I just love them. What's not to love about someone being sassy and very truthful about things that you don't need to waste your money on? I mean, what's not to love about that? Anyway, I thought we would talk about some things today that I just don't foresee spending my money on for one reason or another, and I'll tell you why. I just think it's important to recognize what a consumer culture we live in. If consumerism is something you would like to learn more about, I'm not the most educated person on the subject, but Kimberly Clark has made a consumerism video that gives you a lot more information. I would start there, become a little more informed as to what is kind of being driven at you and how you can choose to perceive that. She has a lot of different topics, big topics on her channel as well. I'm just going to kind of try to cut through all the bull crap that gets plastered everywhere because the reality is there are only so many production labs in the world. There are only so many products that I can layer on my face in a feasible amount, and there are only so many things under the sun. I mean, it's all been done before, right? If any of these things are things that you have purchased, please don't feel bad. That's not what this is about. What these videos are trying to combat is the need nature that all these marketing companies are trying to portray to us and trying to get us to fall into that trap. This next thing is not going to change your life. It's not going to take you from 45 minutes to 5 minutes and getting ready. It's just, there's no big secrets like that. Nobody is launching anything new, and that's just it. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about not spending every dime we've ever made ever on the newest launches and why some of them can be given a hard pass. No, first off is the Tarte Clay Play Face Shaping Palette. If the mouthful of names isn't enough to turn you off in the first place, this is an all matte eye and face palette with contouring shades and matte eyeshadows, and based on my personal experience with Tarte, their matte eyeshadows are the ones that are kind of the crappiest, so I'm just like, okay, you're selling a $40-some palette of your least productive products. Next. Sorry, I mean, maybe they've improved the formulation, maybe it's good, maybe it really is all you need in a palette. It may make sense if you're someone with a limited collection and you need more matte shades and you're a collector of shimmers, that might make sense, but for me it just doesn't make sense to spend $40-some on a subpar matte palette when I have the matte colors I want because I've picked them individually. The Stila Magnificent Metals Glitter and Glow Liquid Shadows. I don't have them, probably not gonna. I'm about to get myself voted off of YouTube, but I don't really like glitter. And call me crazy because makeup artists are supposed to love it. I like glitter on other people. I don't like personally dealing with glitter in my life. It is the herpes of the makeup world and I don't want it near me. I can't ever get rid of it. But if I'm gonna have glitter, I mean, this is not the kind for me because I have hooded eyes and unfortunately that doesn't really mesh well with glitter application. These liquid glitters that dry down, though this one is supposed to be really good and not not crumbly and not transferring a ton. It will transfer on hooded eyes because it's just constantly touching. And because of the constant movement, I would only think that it would just crumble and fall into my eyes and into my lashes. And no part of that appeals to me. None of it. I mean, just glitter in general is just not my favorite thing. And I can't see spending $20, $30 on a glitter that I'll never use, that'll dry up before I can use it. No. The Jaclyn Hill and Morphe collaboration palette. Now, as I'm filming this, it is again for sale. I'm not buying it. I bought the last one, and it smells like cheap Chinese makeup, and the last time I used it, I got a sty on my eye. Actually, the last 2 or 3 times I've used it, I've gotten a sty on my eye. I'm over Morphe. I'm done with it. I'm not happy with the hundreds of dollars I've invested in their products over the years, and if you'd like a specific video on that, please let me know down below. In the last couple of videos, I think I mentioned it in one, I had 2 cups of makeup brushes on this back table, 2 little cups, one with eye brushes and one with face brushes, and they are all Morphe. I've spent probably $400 on Morphe products, all things considered. No more. I mean, the reality is, I don't like Morphe shadows. Though they claim no longer to be private labeled, it's not the first time they've claimed that. I've been severely disappointed with all the money I've sent their way. The brushes are crap, eyeshadow is crap. I'm sorry, I'm all for supporting brands that other people don't know about if it's really a banging deal, but this is not. It's really not. Even though Jaclyn has made claims saying that the formulation on this palette is different, the evidence for me just isn't there. Amount of money that you're paying on top of what their normal palettes cost doesn't make sense. All things considered, it just doesn't point to a reformulation. I can't justify it. Christian Louboutin, which I can't say his name. Louboutin? Something. That guy also makes makeup. Not that guy, but that brand also makes makeup. And recently launched a $70 mascara. Hold on while I go barf in the corner. Yes, a $70 mascara. Let's not even talk about the fact that this is one of the germiest things in your collection. I don't care how beautiful the packaging is, and it is. It's beautiful. Spending that much money on it, you've got to throw it out in like 3 months if it doesn't dry out sooner than that. It's mascara. Why? Why would you make that an investment? Like, why? No. It's so unnecessary, it makes me sick. Like, I can't even comprehend what would drive someone to do that. I just can't. Kim Kardashian West has launched a makeup line, and the first product that she launched was a contouring kit with a couple of dual-ended sticks and a very phallic-looking brush, all flesh tone. Aside from the subpar product and the astronomical pricing on it, I don't really have much more to say. If you watched a bunch of videos on this, you've seen it break off in a bunch of people's hands. You've seen how little product you get for the money. If you live outside the US, the astronomical price goes to unfathomable. I'm not a cream contour person. It's not something that I enjoy. If I'm going to contour, I'll do it with powder products. I'm just not a big cream person, and I'm certainly not going to overpay for subpar products. It's just not my style. Anastasia Beverly Hills is launching a new product. It's not even launched yet, but I can tell you I'm not gonna buy it, and it's their Liquid Glow. This comes in 4 colors. It looks really beautiful. I've seen it all over social media. It's stunning. The reality is, I don't use liquid highlighters. I don't like liquid highlighters. They, by definition, kind of interfere with what I try to do. I need the most coverage on my T-zone, on the areas where I break out, and using a liquid highlight, liquid blush, liquid bronzer, cream, any of those things has a tendency to remove some of the coverage underneath it. That is in no way desirable to me. Would I slather it on my body? Maybe. Am I gonna pay a luxury price tag for glorified body makeup? No. I'm most definitely not. Kat Von D is launching a limited edition Shade and Light palette that is all shimmers, and it's called the Shade Light Glimmer palette, I believe. This one is inspired by her original Shade and Light palette, which was an all matte palette. I don't personally own it. I did at one point. It was very duplicitous to have that and all my Makeup Geek singles that I had chosen. It just That's not something I kept, though I do think it's a great product. Having an all shimmer version of that palette, however, I don't really see the purpose. As someone who doesn't use a ton of shimmery shadows, I use maybe 1 to 2, depending on what kind of eye look I'm going for that day. It just doesn't make sense. Not to mention a lot of these colors, when they're just turned shimmer from matte, don't look that different from each other. So you're very limited in what kinds of looks you can create with these products. I'm not someone who is very tempted by all shimmer palettes in general, but this one is particularly untempting to me because of how boring it looks, honestly. And that's not something I would often say about Kat Von D, so please forgive me. I love her. I think she's wonderful, and I enjoy a lot of her products, but this one just doesn't have me. I mean, that and the limited edition thing just makes me think it's not going to be permanent, so how good can it be, you know? Huda Beauty has launched a new highlighting palette called Solstice, which has a straight up purple, not like lavender, a royal purple highlighter, a pink highlighter. That doesn't make sense to me. Do you realize the depth of skin tone you have to make those work? I'm not nearly there. And not nearly. If you're gonna launch a palette like that, why not just call it a multi-use palette? It's not going to be a highlighting palette for any one skin tone. I mean, any skin tone that buys it is gonna be able to use maybe 50%. And that's true of all of her highlighting palettes. It's true of a lot of palettes in general, because palettes were originally geared towards makeup artists, because they're the only ones who see multiple skin tones in a day and need that much variety in one place. A lot of palettes don't make sense for the average person. A lot of palettes, other than eyeshadow palettes, really don't make sense for the average girl applying her makeup every day. And this highlighter palette is definitely unnecessary, and I think not very well planned out. She's also launched her lip strobes, which I'm not sure if I'm more turned off by the name or the fact that they claim to be making something new. I think they're both kind of the same thing. It's a freaking lip gloss. It's a lip gloss. It might be a shimmery lip gloss, might be a duochrome lip gloss, might be sparkly, but it's lip gloss. It's not a strobe, it's not a topper, it's not anything, it's nothing new. She launched a lip gloss. Good for you, Huda. Calling it a strobe doesn't turn it into anything but lip gloss for me. I have an iridescent gloss. I don't need a full rainbow spectrum of iridescent glosses that all kind of look the same when they're layered on top of lip color. I very rarely top lip colors with lip glosses because hair and wind, and it's just not practical. Beauty Blender came out with a new color of their blending sponge, of their beauty sponge, and it's now a marbled pink. They call it the Swirl. If you're someone who buys things to collect them and hoard them and put them on display, then I say, why the hell not? But otherwise, I say, what are you smoking? Whether it's solid, black, blue, tan, pink, red, whatever, it's gonna get stained and splotchy and gross and not look like that after you use it once. Who cares if it's swirled or marbled or whatever? I don't care. You're really gonna get roped into, oh, this only has dye on part of it. Don't you want it? I don't care at all. It could be puke green. Solid. I would still use it. I don't care. Why am I going to spend $20 on something when I can spend $6 at the drugstore and get something that works just as well? I'm just not going to. And Marc Jacobs has launched some new 7-pan eyeshadow palettes. He calls them the Iconic Multi-Finish eyeshadow palettes. There are 6 new shades to choose from. I'm not tempted in the least by these palettes. Marc Jacobs cosmetics products are formulated and produced in the same lab as Sephora collection products. I have not been thrilled with the Marc Jacobs eyeshadow formulas in the past. I bought one of those $100 palettes. I did. Not this past Christmas, but the one before. I bought the 20-pan palette, and I returned it because even with primer, it didn't last all day on my lids. It didn't look good. It didn't blend like it should for that kind of price point. It was not luxury shadow. Not at all. So I'm not going to pay a higher price per gram for mediocre performance. Marc Jacobs cosmetics are just not a luxury beauty item, in my opinion, so I can't justify the price tag unless it truly is something I can't find anywhere else. Too Faced. While I'm not going to ban them from my channel, I'm not tempted by Too Faced hardly ever. Didn't care about the peach palette, didn't care about the peach collection, couldn't care less that there's going to be a peaches and cream collection. Couldn't care less about his little dog creating their own eyeshadow palette. I don't care about the cutesy stuff. Too Faced, too quick, and too cheap on their launches. They're constantly churning out new things. They're subpar products. They all look the same. They're all marketed differently. I'm done with that. I like their shadow insurance. I have some of their glitter glue, and I have a bronzer. I have a blush that I like by them. A 16-hour blush. That's it. Yeah, let's mow the grass right now. Thank you for mowing my grass, but right now. And Colourpop has created their own pressed shadows now, which are, when you actually look at the cost per gram and what you're getting and all that sort of thing, they're pretty expensive individually. I would not purchase them individually, personally. It just doesn't make sense. They don't have the reputation to back it up. Because they're more of an Instagram brand, I would test them out, but I wouldn't be tempted to buy individual shades because I think the pricing is too high. Their palettes, however, because it's a bundle pricing, if there was ever a palette that I wanted to try of theirs that I thought would help diversify what I actually have, then I would purchase that to try out the formula, just because the bundle pricing does save you quite a bit. The individual Colourpop pressed shadows, it's not tempting to me. I really do not enjoy their Super Shock formulations of products, so my biggest thing that I like by them is their lip pencils and satin lips, the Ultra Satin Lips, which I'm wearing one right now. The other stuff just doesn't really tempt me. It's not stuff that I'm into. The formulation is really too hard to pick up on a brush, and that's how I do my makeup. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in those shadows, so forgive me if that seems bleak to you. I'm sorry. Smashbox has launched a product that they're calling Primerizer. Ever heard of a hydrating primer? Why are we constantly trying to make it look like we launched something new? Why are we constantly trying to make it people think that you have this ingenious new idea? It's not something I'm interested in, because frankly, if you're going to combine two things, remove a step for me. Having a moisturizer in a primer doesn't help me one bit. Putting SPF in a primer, however, would help me skip a step. Like, it would make sense to me to have a primer that has SPF and a primer that doesn't have SPF for like day and night. Having a moisturizer primer just doesn't... Why? Who was complaining about their moisturizing step? Who was complaining that doing moisturizer and primer takes too much time? I mean, it's like those stupid little things that Benefit launched with the little sponge and the two shades, and you're supposed to drag it and have the perfect eyeshadow. Like, what? What were you smoking that you ever thought that was going to translate onto an actual person's face? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Why are we trying to reinvent the makeup wheel every other day? I don't understand. And lastly, Besame is a kind of a vintage-inspired makeup brand that is sold at Sephora. They will be collaborating with Disney and launching the Snow White 1937 collection. This is tempting to me because it's beautiful. Strikes me as more of a collector's item than it is really a makeup item. But then I have to think, would I have ever even thought of makeup as a collector item that you wouldn't use if I hadn't been marketed to that way? Hell no. Hell no. I've never once bought a product just to look at. Never once. I mean, unless it's a piece of art, there's nothing I have bought just to look at. Nothing. Why would I do that with makeup? This beautiful palette that they're going to be launching looks like a recreation of the storybook from Snow White, the original movie way back in 1937, I believe, since they're naming the collection that. And this little storybook is like straight out of my childhood dreams. I'm tempted to have it just as a collector's item, but only because we're mowing the grass again. We've only ever thought of makeup as a collector's item in the last 5 years. And it's because of this platform right here. It's because of YouTube. It's because of beauty gurus and their countless makeup products. Things are just pretty things. Just some things are just to look at, and that's crazy. It's crazy. What half-wit taught us that? I don't understand. Why would we shell out money on a perfectly functional thing just to look at it? I'm sorry, I'm sticking it to the man. I'm not giving Disney any more of my money. They make cute movies and I like their movies and I grew up on their movies, but I by no means need to fund that monster of a company by feeding this collaboration. I am anti-collaborations in general. Like, I've spent my money on them and I am not happy about it, and so I'm not going to spend my money on them anymore. It's that simple. But what I really, really get uncomfortable with is when giant companies collaborate with other companies and just mooch more money off of us. I'm not into collaborations. They're generally done subpar. They cost more to pay the extra person. They're not as high a quality as everything else that's launched. They're limited editions, so they're not held accountable for their subpar product. Generally, collaborations, people play it safe. People play very neutral, wearable things, and it's just, there's nothing new and exciting about it. You won't be seeing any collaborations on my channel unless I've already purchased them, and I'll disclaim that you don't need them. That concludes our first anti-haul. It's kind of a negative thing, but I think it's a necessary thing in this world that we live in where we're constantly bombarded with advertisements. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. Give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, because you know you want to come back here. I would love to have you back. And I create videos twice a week, so there's a lot to look forward to. I hope you learned something from this. I hope this was helpful. I find these videos helpful because it helps to kind of cut through all the bull crap of, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, you need this. I feel like so much of YouTube is really just a sales platform, and that's not how I would like to treat it. If you have more suggestions on how we can be a little bit more insightful with our purchases and how I can help you to do that on here, please let me know. I would love to hear about that. If you have any requests for videos at any time, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I do check them, and I would love to hear your suggestions. And I would love to make them into videos for you. So just leave them for me down below. We can get that taken care of. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Until next time.